It was supposed to be just another Thursday, but that morning brought with it a sense of unease that Astra couldn't shake off. As she stood by the living room window, she watched Jalin, her husband, drag his suitcase toward the waiting cab. He had told her he was heading to Palm Springs for a work retreat, though Astra's instincts whispered otherwise. Normally, she would have been included in such trips. In the early years of their marriage, Jalin often insisted she come along, proudly introducing her as his partner at every function. But things had shifted. Somewhere along the way, the warmth of his affection had cooled, and now Astra found herself excluded more often than not. She pressed her lips together, trying to quiet the gnawing suspicion in her chest. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe it really is just work. Yet deep down she knew. His laughter had grown distant, his eyes wandered when he thought she wasn't looking, and his phone, once left carelessly on the counter, was now locked away in his pocket at all times. Later that afternoon, Astra confided in her best friend Serena, the one person who had always been her anchor. Over coffee, she told Serena about Jalin's sudden trip. Serena didn't even try to hide her skepticism. "Palm Springs, huh? And you weren't invited?" She shook her head. "Something isn't right, Astra. You can't ignore this." Astra sighed, stirring her coffee without tasting it. "I don't want to sound paranoid, but the more I think about it, the more it feels like he's hiding something from me." Serena reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Then stop doubting yourself. Trust your instincts. If you feel he's lying, there's probably a reason." That night, Astra couldn't sleep. She walked through the empty house, her footsteps echoing like reminders of the silence Jalin had left behind. In their bedroom, the untouched half of the bed felt like a hollow space beside her. Her marriage, once full of laughter and late-night conversations, now seemed to be unraveling thread by thread. She sat at the desk near the window and opened her journal. Page after page, she poured out her fears, her anger, and the aching loneliness she tried so hard to mask. Writing was the only way she could breathe, the only way to hold herself together as her heart warned her that a storm was coming. The storm, she feared, would change everything. The morning after Jalin's departure, Astra decided she couldn't live with uncertainty any longer. For too long, she had ignored her instincts, convincing herself that doubt was worse than truth. But now, silence felt unbearable. She began with the house papers. The old file sat neatly in Jalin's study, buried beneath stacks of business contracts and letters. As Astra leafed through the documents, her heart froze. The signature on the property deed looked nothing like hers, though her name was written in ink. It had clearly been forged. Her hands trembled as she took a photo of the document. The betrayal stung more than any argument, more than the lonely nights or evasive explanations. This wasn't just emotional distance anymore. This was a calculated move to erase her. That evening, she rushed to Serena's apartment. Serena studied the papers carefully, her face hardening with every page. "This isn't just lying, Astra," she said firmly. "This is fraud. He's preparing a life without you, and he's doing it illegally." The words cut like glass, but they also gave Astra something she hadn't felt in weeks. Clarity. Serena introduced her to Jameson, a lawyer known for his sharp instincts and ruthless precision in court. He listened quietly as Astra explained everything, the sudden trips, the forged deed, the emotional neglect. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "If you're ready, we can not only protect you, but also hold him accountable." For the first time, Astra felt a flicker of control. She filed a lawsuit to challenge the forged documents and requested a restraining order to secure her safety. When Jalin returned, the storm hit. He laughed at the accusations, dismissing her claims as hysterical exaggerations. But the moment Jameson presented the evidence of forgery, his smirk faltered. Within days, Astra packed her essentials and moved into Serena's spare room. Her parents, after learning the truth, stood firmly by her side. The family dinners that once echoed with Jalin's charm now carried only quiet resolve to see Astra through this battle. Every hearing, every document, every cross-examination was a reminder. Astra was no longer the silent wife waiting in the shadows. She was ready to fight back, and Jalin, for the first time, realized that his carefully constructed mask was beginning to crack. The courtroom was filled with tension the day Astra finally faced Jalin. She walked in with her head held high, Serena and Jameson flanking her like a shield. The judge's gavel struck, and for a moment the echo felt like the sound of her old life ending. Jalin sat across the room, his charm weaponized as always. He smiled, whispered to his attorney, and carried himself as though the outcome were already in his favor. But Astra could see the faint cracks in his confidence, the restless tapping of his fingers, the quick glances when evidence was mentioned. Jameson wasted no time. He presented the forged house deed, followed by expert testimony confirming that Astra's signature had been falsified. Each fact landed like a hammer, stripping away Jalin's polished facade. When Astra was called to testify, her voice shook at first. She spoke of the lonely nights, of being excluded from trips, of the growing wall between them. But as she went on, her words grew stronger. By the end, her pain had transformed into something sharper, resolve. Jalin tried to retaliate with his own performance, painting Astra as unstable, accusing her of paranoia and manipulation. But his theatrics fell flat against the weight of hard evidence. His lies sounded thin, almost desperate. The judge's stern gaze said it all. Truth was no longer on Jalin's side. Outside the courtroom, Astra's parents embraced her. They had watched silently for weeks, but now their support was unshakable. Her father's voice trembled as he whispered, "You've been braver than any of us imagined." The divorce proceedings moved forward swiftly. Jalin launched smear campaigns in the press, desperate to preserve his reputation, but the more he fought, the more he revealed his true nature. Neighbors whispered. Colleagues distanced themselves. The man who once thrived on admiration was now drowning in suspicion. One night, things escalated. Astra awoke to the sound of glass shattering. Jalin had broken into Serena's apartment, his eyes wild with fury. But before he could reach her, police swarmed the scene. His hands were cuffed as he shouted empty threats, his empire of control collapsing in front of flashing red and blue lights. The trial that followed sealed his fate. Fraud, assault, trespassing, the list of charges grew heavier with each day in court. For Astra, every session was both exhausting and liberating. With every verdict, the weight on her chest lifted, piece by piece. When the final judgment arrived, Astra was granted not only her freedom, but also justice. The house was sold, and the proceeds awarded to her. Jalin's name, once respected, was now synonymous with deceit. Months later, Astra boarded a plane to Singapore. As the city skyline lit up beneath her window, she felt the chapter close. The pain of betrayal would never fully vanish, but she had reclaimed her voice, her dignity, and her future. The storm had come. And she had survived it. Jalin's world unraveled quickly after the trial. Once a man who commanded respect in boardrooms and dinner parties, he now sat behind bars, his influence stripped away. Astra, meanwhile, was discovering a life she had never imagined possible. In Singapore, opportunities opened like doors she never knew existed. She began working with an international firm, her natural leadership and resilience drawing admiration. Invitations to conferences and leadership panels soon followed. Where once she was seen only as Jalin's wife, now she was introduced as Astra, the woman who rebuilt herself from ashes. But just as life began to blossom, an unexpected message arrived. It was from her former mother-in-law. The letter carried apologies, regrets, and an offer for reconciliation. Astra read it carefully, her hands trembling slightly. She felt the sorrow behind the words, but also recognized that forgiveness did not mean returning to the past. She folded the letter away, a closed chapter, nothing more. Months later, Astra's career skyrocketed. Her keynote speeches about resilience and empowerment began going viral online. Young women across Asia quoted her words, seeing her as proof that brokenness could become strength. Serena, still her fiercest ally, cheered from afar, sending late-night messages filled with pride. But shadows don't vanish so easily. News surfaced that Jalin was plotting a comeback. A tell-all interview here, a social media post there, he tried to twist the narrative, portraying himself as the victim. But each attempt collapsed under the weight of his own history. His credibility was gone, and the world was no longer charmed by him. Astra refused to be shaken. Instead, she leaned into her platform. On International Women's Day, she stood before a packed auditorium in Singapore, speaking words that silenced the crowd. Strength is not about never being broken. It's about rising every time you are. The applause roared, cameras flashed, and for the first time, Astra didn't feel like she was running from her past. She was owning it. Eventually, life called her back to the United States. She settled into a modest but elegant apartment in Los Angeles. The city felt new, alive, and full of possibility. In quiet evenings, she began writing her memoir. She titled it Rebirth. Page after page, she poured out not just her pain, but the lessons she had carried through fire. The book was not just a story of survival. It was a declaration of transformation. And this time, Astra knew one thing with certainty. No one would ever silence her again. Los Angeles settled around Astra like a warm embrace. The city pulsed with energy, yet she had found a quiet corner for herself, a place to think, plan, and grow. Each morning, the sunlight spilled across her apartment, painting her space with hope and possibilities. Her first major challenge came in the form of the Forward to Europe Business Forum. She was to deliver the opening keynote, representing her company on an international stage. The event was prestigious. Usually, only senior executives with decades of experience were invited. Yet here she was, Astra Miller, the woman who had once fled a toxic marriage, now standing as a symbol of resilience and leadership. As she rehearsed her speech, she reflected on her journey. Every setback, every betrayal, every moment of doubt had forged her into someone stronger. She realized that true leadership wasn't about power over others. It was about mastery over oneself, about the courage to rise despite fear and failure. The day of the forum arrived. Dressed in a royal blue tailored suit that balanced professionalism with elegance, Astra walked onto the stage. The lights were blinding, the applause deafening. She took a deep breath and began. "A year ago, I faced the greatest crisis of my life. My marriage collapsed, trust shattered, and my own worth seemed denied. But in that darkness, I discovered myself. I turned pain into strength, fear into courage. Today, I stand here not as a victim, but as a leader." Her words resonated. Many in the audience had faced their own battles. Women wiped away tears. Men nodded in silent respect. Cameras flashed, recording every sentence. The speech ended in a standing ovation, the echoes of applause lingering long after she left the stage. Backstage, executives and attendees approached her, offering collaboration opportunities, mentorship requests, and invitations to high-profile projects. Among them, Mr. Johnson, the CEO, gave a subtle thumbs up, a quiet acknowledgement of her transformation and skill. Even personal life messages followed. Serena sent an exuberant message, "You've officially become unstoppable." Astra laughed softly, responding with a heart emoji. Her life had shifted. The days of fear and humiliation were gone. Yet, life had one final test. An unexpected message appeared on her phone. "Astra, I'm out. I heard you're doing well. Can we meet? I have so much to say." It was Jalen. Astra felt a momentary pang but quickly replaced it with clarity. Her fingers hovered over the screen, then decisively deleted the message. Some doors once closed should remain closed. She blocked the number. Her past no longer dictated her future. As the sun set over Los Angeles, Astra looked out at the city lights. Each shimmering building reflected her own rise, steadfast, bright, and unbroken. She poured herself a cup of tea, opened her laptop, and began finalizing her memoir. She titled it Rebirth. "I believe in love," she wrote on the first page. "But I believe more in myself. True security comes not from another's promise, but from self-confidence and inner strength." For the first time in years, Astra felt complete. The journey from fear to empowerment had transformed her life. She was no longer defined by what she had endured, but by what she had overcome. Outside, the crescent moon rose, casting a silver glow over the city. Astra smiled, knowing she was ready for whatever the future held. The past had shaped her, but it would never control her again. The morning sun spilled golden light across Los Angeles, warming the streets and the hearts of those who walked them. Astra Miller stood at her apartment balcony, overlooking the city's sprawling skyline. It had been a year since she had fled the suffocating shadows of her past, and yet every day still felt like a new beginning. LA wasn't just her home, it was her proving ground. Every skyscraper reflected her ambition. Every bustling street reminded her that life was full of opportunities if one had the courage to take them. Her phone buzzed, breaking the morning silence. It was a calendar notification. Forward to Europe Business Forum, final rehearsal. Astra smiled, sipping her coffee. Today wasn't just another day. It was the culmination of months of preparation, strategy meetings, and personal reflection. She had rewritten her speech countless times, ensuring that every word resonated with strength, hope, and clarity. Before leaving for the rehearsal, she took a moment to organize her thoughts. She thought about the women she had met, the interns, colleagues, and followers who had shared their stories with her. Every message, every tear, and every note of gratitude reminded her that her journey wasn't hers alone. It belonged to countless others who needed a living example of resilience. In the car, Astra reviewed her notes again. She had polished the section about transforming personal pain into professional strength. It wasn't just about surviving a toxic marriage. It was about reclaiming identity, purpose, and the courage to redefine one's own life. Leadership, she murmured, is forged in adversity, not comfort. At the rehearsal hall, the team welcomed her warmly. The stage was grand, adorned with international flags, and the audience seating stretched like an endless sea. She practiced walking onto the stage, positioning herself confidently at the podium, imagining the eyes of hundreds upon her. Her voice echoed as she read aloud. True empowerment is not given. It is taken, cultivated, and defended. We must first learn to honor our own worth before expecting others to do so. Our courage in facing fear determines the magnitude of our growth. The director of the forum, a tall woman with an authoritative presence, nodded approvingly. Your words are powerful, Astra. They're exactly what this audience needs. You're not just delivering a speech, you're providing a roadmap for transformation. The day of the forum arrived. Dressed in a tailored emerald green suit, Astra exuded confidence and elegance. Every step toward the stage felt like a declaration. She was no longer defined by fear, humiliation, or betrayal. She was in control, a living testament to self-determination. As she stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment, immortalizing her triumph. Her heart raced not with fear, but with purpose. This was her stage, and her message was clear. Strength comes from within, not from the approval of others. A year ago, I faced the deepest betrayal of my life, she began. My trust was shattered, my self-worth denied. But from that darkness, I discovered an unshakable truth. Our value is not defined by others. True leadership begins with mastering oneself, rising despite adversity, and reclaiming one's own life. The audience listened intently, some wiping tears, others nodding in silent agreement. Every word resonated, every pause intentional. Astra's story wasn't just about her. It was about countless women who had been silenced, undervalued, or trapped in toxic circumstances. She was their voice. Midway through her speech, she shared the personal lessons she had learned, the importance of financial independence, the necessity of emotional boundaries, and the power of making decisions that honor oneself. She emphasized that courage didn't mean confrontation. It meant clarity, decisiveness, and resilience. When she concluded, the hall erupted into a standing ovation. Astra felt the energy of the crowd, the collective acknowledgement of their struggles and victories. She stepped back, letting the applause wash over her, savoring the moment not as a reward, but as affirmation that her journey had meaning far beyond herself. Backstage, executives and attendees surrounded her. They offered mentorship opportunities, partnership proposals, and invitations to speak at international conferences. A young intern approached her, tears in her eyes, expressing how Astra's story had inspired her to leave a toxic relationship and reclaim her career ambitions. Astra smiled, realizing her experiences had created ripples of hope far wider than she had imagined. Later that evening, as she returned to her apartment, her phone buzzed with a new message. It was a notification from the publishing house, Revised manuscript, Rebirth. Astra opened the document, scanning through the pages she had poured her soul into. Her story, once a painful memory, was now a source of empowerment for others. The editor's note at the end caught her eye. Many readers will wonder if after everything, you still believe in love. Astra paused, reflecting. Love, she realized, was no longer about dependency or validation. It was about self-respect, growth, and boundaries. She typed the final line for her memoir. I believe in love, but I believe more in myself. True security comes not from another's promise, but from self-confidence and inner strength. She saved the document, leaning back in her chair. Outside, the crescent moon cast a silver glow across the city. In that moment, Astra felt a profound sense of completion. She had transformed from a woman defined by her circumstances into a leader who defined her own destiny. Her past, once a source of pain, had become the foundation of her power. The morning in Los Angeles was crisp, with a gentle breeze flowing through the city streets. Astra Miller stepped out of her apartment building, her mind buzzing with plans. The week ahead was packed, meetings with international partners, preparation for her next keynote, and a series of interviews with business magazines eager to feature her story. For the first time in years, she felt fully alive, not running, not hiding, but steering her own course. As she drove toward the X Group headquarters, she reflected on how drastically her life had shifted. Just a year ago, she had been trapped in a toxic marriage, her identity and confidence eroded. Today, she commanded respect, not just for her professional acumen, but for the resilience and courage she embodied. Every corner of her life now reflected intention, control, and vision. At the office, Iris greeted her warmly. Director Miller, I've scheduled a strategy session with the European team at 10. They're excited to leverage your insights from the Singapore office. Astra smiled. The European expansion project had been a delicate initiative, requiring cultural sensitivity, strategic foresight, and a deep understanding of international markets, skills she had honed in the past year. In the conference room, executives dialed in from various countries. Astra led the meeting with confidence, outlining market entry strategies, key performance indicators, and marketing campaigns tailored to local sensibilities. She paused frequently, encouraging input and debate. By the end of the session, the team was aligned and energized, inspired by the clarity and decisiveness she exuded. After the meeting, her assistant handed her a note. It was an invitation to a private networking dinner hosted by the LA Chamber of Commerce. The event promised influential business leaders, investors, and philanthropists an opportunity to expand her network and cement her growing influence. Astra accepted, knowing that every connection was a step toward greater impact. In the evening, the dining hall shimmered with crystal chandeliers and the soft glow of candlelight. Astra entered confidently, drawing the attention of many guests who had heard of her remarkable rise. She engaged in discussions about leadership, corporate responsibility, and women's empowerment. Her insights grounded in real experience rather than theory. A notable conversation occurred with a prominent venture capitalist. Your journey is extraordinary, Astra. Most women would have crumbled under the pressure you faced. Astra responded thoughtfully. Resilience isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them with integrity and learning to leverage them as catalysts for growth. Later that night, as she returned to her apartment, Astra felt a sense of satisfaction, but also a lingering thought. What did personal fulfillment truly mean? Success, accolades, and recognition were gratifying, but she knew that authentic fulfillment came from aligning her life with her values and purpose. Her reflections were interrupted by a soft knock on her door. Standing there was Serena, radiant as always. Astra, I couldn't resist stopping by. I wanted to celebrate your success in person. Astra invited her in, and they toasted with champagne, reminiscing about the past and marveling at how far they had both come. Serena's eyes sparkled with mischief. By the way, you've officially become a role model. Everyone in the firm is talking about you. Even the interns are quoting your speeches. Astra laughed. I never intended to become a symbol. I just decided to take control of my life. The next morning, Astra received a surprising message on LinkedIn. It was from a European business consortium inviting her to speak at an international summit on women's leadership. The summit was prestigious, attended by ministers, CEOs, and industry pioneers. Accepting this would mark another milestone in her burgeoning career. Astra carefully considered the offer, weighing her desire to maintain control over her schedule with the potential influence she could exert on a global platform. In the weeks that followed, Astra immersed herself in preparation for the summit. She conducted research, refined her speech, and rehearsed tirelessly. Her team supported her, providing data, case studies, and audience insights to ensure her presentation would resonate powerfully. Each iteration of her speech became sharper, more compelling, and more authentic. Finally, the day arrived. Astra stood backstage at the summit in Vienna, the grand city bathed in autumn light. The auditorium was packed with dignitaries and industry leaders. As she walked onto the stage, she felt the familiar thrill of purpose, a feeling that had replaced the fear and uncertainty that once dominated her life. Leadership is not a position. It is a responsibility, she began. It is the ability to inspire, to empower, and to transform challenges into opportunities. True leadership is measured not by authority, but by the courage to act with integrity, to advocate for those who cannot, and to rise despite adversity. Her speech wove together professional insights, personal anecdotes, and lessons drawn from her own journey. She spoke about the importance of mentorship, the necessity of creating inclusive environments, and the transformative power of self-belief. The audience responded enthusiastically, their applause punctuating moments of resonance. After her presentation, attendees approached her, expressing admiration and gratitude. Young women shared stories of struggles and aspirations, looking to Astra as both inspiration and guidance. It was a profound moment, underscoring that her personal triumphs had become a beacon of hope and empowerment for others. That night, walking along the cobblestone streets of Vienna, Astra reflected on her journey. From being trapped in a controlling marriage to standing as a respected leader on an international stage, she had navigated obstacles with strength and poise. Every setback, every moment of doubt, had contributed to the woman she had become, confident, independent, and unwavering in her commitment to herself and others. Returning to her hotel, she received an unexpected message from her parents. Her mother wrote, "We are so proud of you. You've turned pain into purpose, fear into courage. Keep shining." Astra smiled, feeling a warmth that no accolade or recognition could match. As she prepared for sleep, she thought about the future, her expanding career, the opportunities to mentor and inspire, and the personal growth that lay ahead. For Astra Miller, the past was no longer a prison. It was a foundation. Every decision, every action, and every achievement now flowed from her own agency and vision. She closed her eyes, knowing that she had not only reclaimed her life, but had transformed it into a story of empowerment, resilience, and triumph. The following weeks in Los Angeles were a whirlwind for Astra. Her calendar was packed, yet she moved through her schedule with precision and poise. Each morning, she reviewed market trends, prepared strategic reports, and mentored her marketing team. What had once felt overwhelming now felt invigorating, a challenge she embraced with determination. One Wednesday afternoon, Astra received a call from Iris. "Director Miller, I have news. The X Group wants to launch a mentorship initiative for young women in business, and they want you as the face of the campaign." Astra paused, considering. The opportunity was not just about visibility. It was about impact. She replied thoughtfully, "I accept. Let's ensure this initiative reaches those who truly need guidance and inspiration." Preparations began immediately. Astra collaborated with designers, PR teams, and social media specialists to develop a campaign that was both empowering and relatable. Her speeches, workshops, and online content emphasized resilience, self-confidence, and strategic thinking. Her story, once a private struggle, was now a public testament to what was possible when one reclaimed control over their life. During this period, Astra also faced subtle challenges. Competing executives occasionally questioned her rapid ascent, hinting at skepticism about her experience. But Astra met every challenge with calm intelligence, countering doubts not with defensiveness, but with results. Her campaigns exceeded KPIs, her team flourished, and her reputation grew stronger by the day. One evening, while preparing for a live-streamed workshop, Astra reflected on her personal journey. She remembered the quiet despair of her past marriage, the sense of powerlessness that once defined her days. And she realized that those experiences, as painful as they had been, had honed a resilience few possessed. Now she could channel that strength into inspiring others. The live session began, streamed to thousands of viewers across multiple countries. Astra spoke candidly about setting boundaries, recognizing toxic patterns, and reclaiming agency. She shared actionable strategies for women in corporate environments, including negotiation tactics, networking, and self-promotion. Her authenticity resonated, and the live chat overflowed with messages of gratitude and admiration. After the session, Astra received a LinkedIn message from a young entrepreneur. "Director Miller, your story motivated me to leave a toxic job and start my own venture. Thank you for showing that courage and success can coexist." Astra smiled, replying warmly. The message was a reminder. Her influence extended far beyond corporate success. It touched lives. That weekend, Astra took a rare break to visit the coast. Walking along the beach, she let the waves wash over her feet and felt the rhythm of life return to a slower, more deliberate pace. She thought about the balance between ambition and personal well-being, realizing that true leadership required not just strategic thinking, but emotional awareness and self-care. As she returned home, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Serena. "Big news! The court has ruled in favor of Jalen's mother against Valerie. The restitution is finalized." Astra read it without surprise. The chaos of her ex-husband's life had become irrelevant to her. She was no longer tethered to the past. Her focus was on the present and future she was building. The next week brought an international opportunity. Astra was invited to speak at a global women's summit in New York, alongside leaders from Fortune 500 companies and prominent nonprofit organizations. The event promised a platform to influence policy, mentorship programs, and corporate practices on a global scale. Astra eagerly accepted, preparing a speech that combined her personal journey with strategic insights for women in leadership. In the days leading up to the summit, she balanced preparation with mentoring sessions, content creation, and strategic meetings. Her team in Los Angeles handled daily operations seamlessly, a testament to the trust and culture she had cultivated. For Astra, leadership was not just about directing tasks. It was about empowering others to perform beyond expectations. On the morning of the summit, Astra boarded a flight to New York. Looking out over the clouds, she reflected on the distance, both physical and emotional, that she had traveled. From a life of constraint and uncertainty to one of influence and purpose, she had navigated each step with courage. The summit was not merely a stage. It was a continuation of her mission to redefine what leadership meant for women everywhere. Upon arrival, the city's energy was palpable. Skyscrapers glittered in the early morning sun, the streets alive with ambition and possibility. Astra checked into her hotel, reviewed her notes, and mentally rehearsed her speech. Each word, each pause, and each gesture was intentional, reflecting both authority and empathy. The summit opened with a grand welcome from organizers, and Astra was introduced as a keynote speaker. As she approached the podium, she noticed the diverse audience, leaders, innovators, students, and advocates. Her heart swelled, not with anxiety, but with purpose. She began. Leadership is not simply about titles or positions. It is about influence, integrity, and the courage to create change. True leaders empower others, challenge norms, and embrace resilience as their guiding principle. Her speech weaved together professional strategies, lessons learned from personal adversity, and insights into fostering inclusive workplaces. Attendees responded with enthusiastic applause, nods, and standing ovations. Many approached her afterward, expressing gratitude for her courage and clarity. That evening, after the summit, Astra attended a private dinner with fellow keynote speakers. Conversations ranged from entrepreneurship to social impact initiatives. One notable interaction was with a philanthropist focused on women's education. "Your story is more than inspiring, it's transformative," she said. I want to collaborate with you on global initiatives for young women. Astra smiled, recognizing that her influence was multiplying in ways she had never imagined. Returning to her hotel late at night, Astra reflected on the whirlwind of achievements. Each accolade, each recognition was meaningful, but what resonated most was the sense of purpose that had guided her every step. She had transformed adversity into strength, isolation into connection, and fear into action. As she gazed out at the city lights, Astra felt a quiet certainty. Life would continue to present challenges, but she now possessed the clarity, courage, and conviction to navigate any path. Her story, once a tale of pain and survival, had evolved into a narrative of empowerment, resilience, and leadership. And with each new opportunity, she was not just succeeding. She was inspiring countless others to rise, reclaim, and redefine their own destinies. The days after the Global Summit in New York were a blend of excitement and responsibility for Astra. Invitations, emails and calls poured in from organizations, universities, and corporate boards. Every request reflected the growing recognition of her expertise, not just as a marketing executive, but as a leader who had transformed personal adversity into actionable guidance for others. One morning, while reviewing her schedule, Astra received an unexpected message. It was from the Federation of Women in Business, the organizers of an upcoming international leadership conference in Geneva. They invited her to deliver the keynote speech and participate in a panel discussion on women leading change in global markets. The honor was prestigious, but the logistical challenges were considerable. Astra knew she had to balance preparation, travel, and her responsibilities back in Los Angeles. Despite the demanding schedule, Astra felt invigorated. She delegated more tasks to her trusted team, ensuring the Los Angeles office continued to function seamlessly. Her ability to lead remotely had improved dramatically, a testament to the culture of trust and empowerment she had cultivated. During the flight to Geneva, Astra reflected on her journey. From a woman trapped in a controlling marriage to a global figure in female leadership, the transformation had been profound. She had confronted betrayal, financial manipulation, and emotional abuse, and emerged stronger, more decisive, and self-assured. This perspective shaped not only her professional approach, but also the values she wanted to instill in others. Upon arriving in Switzerland, the elegance and precision of Geneva struck her. The city exuded a quiet sophistication, mirroring the gravity of the event she was about to participate in. At the conference venue, Astra was escorted to the main hall, where leaders from around the world were already networking. The energy was palpable, an intersection of ambition, intellect, and advocacy. Her keynote began with a personal story, as she often did. She described the challenges she had faced, the lessons she had learned, and the strategies she used to reclaim her agency. Her voice carried a mixture of authority, warmth, and relatability. She spoke about resilience, ethical leadership, and the importance of mentorship. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, nodding heads, and emotional acknowledgement. Following the keynote, Astra joined a panel discussion with CEOs and founders of multinational companies. The topic was the reinvention of leadership in the modern era, especially for women navigating complex corporate environments. Astra shared insights about strategic decision-making, balancing professional growth with personal well-being, and advocating for systemic changes that enabled equitable opportunities. Her practical examples and personal anecdotes resonated deeply, prompting engaging questions from attendees. After the panel, Astra was approached by a young executive from Europe. "Your story inspired me to take a bold step in my career. I was hesitant to negotiate for a leadership position, but your example showed me that courage and preparation can change outcomes." Astra smiled, realizing that her influence was extending beyond her immediate industry. Her story had become a catalyst for global empowerment. Back in her hotel that evening, Astra took a moment to herself. She looked out over the city's nightscape, the serene waters reflecting the glow of the lights. The tranquility was a sharp contrast to the intensity of her recent months, yet she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She realized that leadership was not merely about titles or achievements. It was about creating impact, inspiring others, and living authentically. The next morning brought a surprise. Iris called with news that the X Group wanted to feature Astra in a documentary highlighting women who had redefined leadership through resilience and vision. The documentary would be aired across multiple platforms, including international media channels. Astra agreed, recognizing the opportunity to reach an even wider audience and amplify her message of empowerment. During the filming, Astra reflected on the journey that had led her here. Each chapter of her life, from her early career through the hardships of her marriage to the triumphs in Singapore and the United States, was a lesson in courage, strategy, and self-belief. She spoke candidly about setbacks, not to dwell on pain, but to illuminate the path to growth. As the documentary crew wrapped up, Astra received a text from Serena. "Guess what? Your memoir's advance has been doubled. The publisher believes your story will resonate worldwide." Astra smiled. The validation was meaningful, but more important was the realization that her experiences could provide guidance and hope to countless others navigating challenges of their own. Geneva's conference concluded with a gala dinner, offering a chance for networking and informal discussions. Astra engaged with fellow leaders, policymakers, and innovators. Conversations ranged from global business strategies to initiatives promoting women's entrepreneurship. She was approached by representatives from several international NGOs, seeking collaboration on programs supporting female leaders in developing regions. Astra welcomed these initiatives, eager to extend her influence beyond corporate success. During the gala, a familiar figure appeared at the entrance. Security initially held him back, but he was allowed a brief approach. It was Jalen, her ex-husband, looking frail and apologetic. He had traveled across continents, seemingly to find her. "Astra," he said quietly, "I only want to say I'm sorry. I have no expectations, but I needed to apologize in person." Astra regarded him calmly. His presence stirred no anger, only a quiet acknowledgement that their paths had diverged long ago. "Jalen, your journey is yours, mine is mine. I hope you find peace and learn from your past. But please do not interfere with my life." He nodded, understanding that no further discussion was possible, and left the venue. The rest of the evening was spent celebrating achievements, forming connections, and envisioning future collaborations. As Astra returned to her hotel, she felt a sense of completeness. She had faced her past, claimed her present, and prepared to shape her future. Her journey was far from over, but she now possessed the confidence, clarity, and purpose to navigate whatever came next. Before sleeping, Astra drafted a note in her journal. "The measure of a woman's strength is not in avoiding challenges, but in confronting them, transforming pain into wisdom, and using that wisdom to elevate others." With that thought, she closed her journal, ready for the opportunities and adventures awaiting her on the global stage. Back in Los Angeles, Astra's schedule intensified. With multiple international projects underway, she was coordinating teams across 3 continents. Her ability to manage complex workflows, motivate diverse teams, and anticipate market trends had become her trademark. Emails flooded in from partners in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Each required not only strategic input, but also diplomacy, cultural sensitivity, and leadership finesse. One afternoon, while reviewing reports from the Singapore office, Astra noticed a promising startup seeking partnership in sustainable marketing. Its innovative approach aligned perfectly with the X Group's new global initiative on corporate social responsibility. Excited, she scheduled a video conference with the founders. During the discussion, Astra emphasized the importance of ethical business practices, transparency, and long-term impact over short-term gains. Her reputation as a principled and decisive leader impressed the founders, who eagerly agreed to collaborate. Meanwhile, the documentary about her journey aired internationally. The response was overwhelming. Emails poured in from young professionals, executives, and students, expressing gratitude and seeking mentorship. Many shared stories of personal struggles, toxic workplaces, or oppressive relationships, thanking Astra for giving them courage. She replied personally to several, finding fulfillment in the real impact of her story. A week later, Astra attended a roundtable discussion in New York with global leaders in corporate governance. The panel focused on strategies for fostering inclusive workplaces and enhancing female representation in decision-making roles. Astra highlighted actionable steps, mentorship programs, equitable hiring policies, and measurable performance metrics for leadership development. Her arguments were data-driven yet deeply personal, resonating strongly with the audience. During a break, a journalist approached her. "Astra, many are calling you a symbol of modern female leadership. How do you handle such expectations?" Astra smiled thoughtfully. "Leadership isn't about meeting others' expectations. It's about staying true to your values, learning continuously, and empowering those around you. If my story inspires someone to reclaim their power, that is enough." Returning to LA, Astra focused on expanding the Center for the Development of Female Leadership. She designed workshops, networking events, and online webinars. Attendance exceeded expectations, and the center quickly became a hub for ambitious professionals seeking guidance and community support. Astra mentored participants personally, offering strategies for career growth, emotional resilience, and negotiation skills. During one such session, a young executive confided her struggles with workplace harassment. Astra listened patiently, then outlined legal, professional, and psychological strategies to navigate the situation safely. The woman left the session empowered, inspired by Astra's blend of compassion and pragmatism. Meanwhile, Serena shared updates from her law firm. Cases were progressing favorably, and she was being recognized as a rising star. The two friends continued their tradition of virtual toasts, celebrating victories and sharing insights from their respective industries. Their bond had evolved into a mutually empowering partnership, each amplifying the other's growth. Amid the professional whirlwind, Astra allowed herself moments of personal reflection. Sitting on her balcony in LA, watching the sunset paint the skyline in shades of amber and gold, she felt a quiet satisfaction. Her past, once a source of pain and limitation, had become the foundation of her resilience and authority. Every setback had been transformed into a stepping stone, each failure a lesson in strategy, patience, and self-worth. An unexpected opportunity arose when a global NGO requested Astra to lead a project on women's economic empowerment in developing countries. The initiative aimed to provide training, mentorship, and microfinancing for female entrepreneurs. Astra embraced the project, seeing it as a chance to extend her impact beyond corporate boardrooms into communities that needed guidance, resources, and encouragement. As she traveled to Africa for the first project site visit, Astra witnessed the transformative power of leadership and education. Women who had once been marginalized began starting small businesses, leading community initiatives, and mentoring others. Astra guided workshops, shared her story, and provided actionable frameworks for sustainable growth. Witnessing these changes reinforced her belief that leadership was not a position, but a responsibility to elevate others. Evenings were often reflective. Astra wrote daily in her journal, capturing lessons, inspirations, and observations. She developed a routine that balanced professional obligations with personal well-being, meditation, reading, exercise, and time for self-reflection. Her clarity of purpose grew with each passing day, and she realized that true empowerment was holistic, encompassing mind, body, and spirit. Returning to LA, Astra received a notification. Her memoir, Rebirth, was trending globally. Early reviews praised not only her story of overcoming adversity, but also her insights on leadership, resilience, and personal growth. Invitations for interviews, keynote speeches, and international forums continued to arrive, affirming that her voice had a significant global resonance. Amid all this, Astra occasionally reflected on Jalen's past messages and attempts to contact her. Each time she felt calm detachment. The woman she had become was no longer defined by past betrayals or unresolved emotions. She had built boundaries, reclaimed her narrative, and forged a future independent of anyone else's actions or judgments. By the end of the year, Astra had expanded her influence significantly. Corporate partnerships, NGO initiatives, media appearances, and the thriving mentorship center. Her vision of empowering women and redefining leadership had taken tangible shape, touching countless lives across continents. On a quiet evening, Astra looked at the city lights of LA from her apartment balcony. The journey from a constrained, disrespected wife to a global leader and symbol of empowerment was complete in a way she could never have imagined. She held her journal close, reflecting on the words she had written months earlier. Strength is born from struggle, clarity from reflection, and impact from action. Astra smiled. The future remained full of challenges and opportunities, but she was ready. Every lesson, every hardship, and every triumph had prepared her to face the world not with fear, but with conviction, resilience, and an unwavering belief in herself. The new year brought new horizons. Astra received an invitation to speak at a global leadership summit in London, alongside CEOs, policymakers, and social entrepreneurs. Preparing for the speech, she reflected on the transformation she had undergone over the past year, the resilience she had cultivated, the lessons she had learned, and the people she had inspired. On the day of the summit, Astra arrived early, observing the grandeur of the venue. The hall was filled with luminaries in business, technology, and social impact. Cameras flashed, journalists whispered, and assistants hustled to finalize arrangements. Despite the grandeur, Astra remained calm, grounded in her purpose. When she took the stage, she noticed attentive faces, many taking notes, some filming for live broadcast. She began with a simple yet powerful statement. Leadership is not about titles or recognition. It is about courage, integrity, and the ability to empower others. Her speech wove together personal anecdotes, professional insights, and actionable guidance. She shared her story of escaping an oppressive marriage, reclaiming her life, and building a career that not only thrived financially, but created meaningful change. She emphasized that the measure of leadership lay in the legacy one leaves behind, how many people were lifted, mentored, and inspired along the way. After her keynote, a wave of questions came from the audience. Students, young executives, and established leaders alike asked how they could overcome self-doubt, navigate systemic challenges, and balance personal and professional growth. Astra responded thoughtfully, encouraging introspection, continuous learning, and the importance of surrounding oneself with supportive networks. Later that evening, a networking event brought together speakers and delegates. Astra engaged in discussions about cross-cultural leadership, sustainable business practices, and corporate social responsibility. International media outlets approached her for interviews, highlighting her story as a beacon of resilience and modern female leadership. Back in LA, Astra continued her work at the Center for the Development of Female Leadership. The center expanded its online programs, reaching women in countries previously inaccessible. She personally oversaw mentorship pairings, curriculum development, and webinars. Feedback poured in from participants who reported tangible changes in their careers, confidence, and personal lives. Astra felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She was witnessing the ripple effect of empowerment on a global scale. Amid professional success, Astra carved out moments for personal reflection. She maintained a disciplined routine of exercise, journaling, and mindfulness. Every evening, she would review her achievements, set intentions for the next day, and remind herself of the values that guided her life. The scars of her past no longer caused pain. They had become symbols of her growth and strength. One afternoon, while reviewing strategic proposals for the NGO projects, Astra received a message from Serena. Her friend had secured another major case and was being promoted to senior partner. They scheduled a video call, celebrating each other's successes and sharing insights. Their friendship had matured into a powerful alliance, blending professional collaboration with personal loyalty. Meanwhile, Astra's memoir, Rebirth, continued to inspire. Invitations for interviews, podcasts, and talk shows arrived daily. Schools and universities reached out, requesting her to speak about resilience, empowerment, and leadership. Each opportunity allowed Astra to extend her influence beyond corporate settings, touching the lives of students, young professionals, and communities worldwide. Despite her increasing fame, Astra remained grounded. She declined invitations that did not align with her values and focused on projects that created meaningful impact. Her philosophy was clear. Success was not measured by wealth or recognition, but by the tangible difference one made in the lives of others. One evening, as she prepared for an upcoming panel on women in leadership at a UN conference, Astra reflected on her journey. From a life constrained by fear and oppression, she had risen to become an influential figure advocating for empowerment and equity. Every challenge she had faced, the betrayal, manipulation, and societal expectations, had been transformed into lessons, fueling her growth and shaping her philosophy. Her reflection was interrupted by an email notification. It was from a young entrepreneur she had mentored in Africa, sharing that her small business had expanded to multiple cities, employing dozens of women. Astra smiled, recognizing the tangible impact of her guidance. She replied with encouragement and advice, knowing that her influence had truly become global. By spring, Astra had established herself as a leading voice in female empowerment, corporate ethics, and transformational leadership. She had become a symbol of resilience and inspiration for countless women, showing that even in the face of adversity, it was possible to reclaim one's life, pursue dreams, and leave a lasting legacy. On the final evening of the summit, Astra stood on the balcony of her hotel overlooking the London skyline. The lights reflected the city's vibrancy, reminding her of the countless lives she had touched and the work still ahead. She realized that her journey was not just about personal triumph, but about creating a ripple effect, empowering others to rise, lead, and believe in themselves. Astra's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. For a brief moment, a flicker of the past passed through her mind. But she did not open it. She had learned that some doors were meant to remain closed. Her focus was on the present, on those who needed her guidance, and on the legacy she was building. As the conference ended, Astra returned to LA with renewed purpose. She continued to expand the center, mentor young leaders, and engage in global initiatives. Her story of transformation, from a trapped, disrespected wife to a confident, influential leader, had become more than personal triumph. It had become a blueprint for empowerment, resilience, and leadership for women worldwide. On a quiet evening in her LA apartment, Astra sat by the window, looking at the city lights and reflecting on the journey. She picked up her journal and wrote a simple line: "I believe in growth, in empowerment, and in the courage to lead myself and others. The past shaped me, but it does not define me." With that, Astra closed the journal, feeling a profound sense of peace and readiness. Her journey had transformed her into a beacon of strength, not just for herself, but for countless women across the globe. She knew the path ahead would have challenges, but she was ready. Every experience, every lesson, and every success had prepared her to face the future with confidence, clarity, and unwavering self-belief. Summer arrived in Los Angeles. Painting the city with warmth and vibrant energy, Astra walked through her newly purchased apartment, now fully decorated, reflecting her tastes and achievements. Every corner told a story of resilience, transformation, and self-discovery. Her mornings began with a routine of meditation, exercise, and reading. She valued clarity of mind, understanding that true leadership required both mental sharpness and emotional balance. By mid-morning, she would head to the Center for the Development of Female Leadership, where her team awaited her guidance. Projects spanned mentorship programs, global webinars, and scholarships for women aspiring to leadership roles. Astra took time to meet personally with participants, listening to their stories and offering insights from her own journey. One afternoon, while reviewing proposals for a new international initiative, Astra received a call from her parents. Their voices were filled with pride and warmth. "Astra, we saw your latest speech online," her mother said, voice trembling. "You've inspired so many. We couldn't be prouder." Her father added, "Remember, we'll always support you, and we're glad you found your strength, your independence, and your voice." Astra smiled, feeling the deep sense of fulfillment that came from reconnecting with family on her own terms. She had built her life without compromising her values, and that was the truest measure of freedom. The next week, Astra was invited to a televised panel discussing corporate responsibility and female leadership. Cameras, bright lights, and a bustling production crew surrounded her, yet she felt calm, composed, and in control. Her words resonated, sparking discussions about equity, empowerment, and sustainable growth in businesses. After the show, a young woman approached her backstage, eyes wide with admiration. "Director Miller, your story helped me leave a toxic relationship and pursue my career." "I can't thank you enough." Astra held her hand gently. "Your courage is what truly matters. Keep moving forward." Meanwhile, her book Rebirth was in the final stages of publication. Astra worked closely with the editor to ensure that each chapter reflected her journey authentically, offering guidance and inspiration for readers navigating challenges in both personal and professional life. The chapter on building healthy relationships emphasized boundaries, self-worth, and the courage to prioritize oneself without guilt. Life outside work also flourished. Astra nurtured friendships and found joy in travel, culinary exploration, and cultural experiences. She understood that personal happiness and fulfillment were inseparable from professional success. One evening, while attending a gala in downtown LA, Astra looked around at accomplished individuals and innovators. Despite the crowd, she felt a sense of serenity. Her achievements were recognized, but more importantly, she had created a life aligned with her values, vision, and purpose. Her phone buzzed, another congratulatory message from Serena. The two friends met for dinner, celebrating milestones, exchanging advice, and simply enjoying the comfort of shared understanding. Serena was thriving, and Astra felt proud of the lives they had rebuilt together. In the quiet of her apartment that night, Astra reflected on the entire journey. She remembered the fear, the betrayal, and the self-doubt that once held her captive. Every challenge, every setback, and every confrontation with Jalan and his family had forged a resilience she now carried proudly. She realized that empowerment was not a destination, but a continuous journey. Every action, decision, and reflection contributed to her growth and the influence she had on others. The past no longer dictated her present. It had become a foundation for her future. Months later, Astra received an invitation to establish a mentorship program in Europe, targeting young women aspiring to corporate leadership. She accepted enthusiastically, recognizing the opportunity to expand her impact and help shape future generations of leaders. On a quiet Sunday morning, Astra stood on her apartment balcony, gazing at the sprawling LA skyline. The city lights sparkled like stars, reminding her of the countless possibilities that lay ahead. She took a deep breath, feeling gratitude for the journey, the lessons, and the strength she had discovered within herself. Before she retired for the evening, Astra opened her laptop and began drafting her next initiative, an international collaboration to empower women in underrepresented regions. Her thoughts flowed effortlessly, fueled by clarity, vision, and purpose. As she paused to glance at the crescent moon rising above the city, Astra whispered to herself, "I have reclaimed my life, my voice, and my power. I believe in love, in growth, and in the courage to lead. My journey is ongoing, but I am ready for every challenge, every opportunity, and every horizon." With a serene smile, she closed her laptop, feeling a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. The journey from fear to empowerment, from doubt to self-assurance, from a constrained life to one of influence and inspiration, had been complete. Astra had not just survived, she had transformed, becoming a beacon for others to follow, a testament to the power of resilience, courage, and self-belief.